This is the Inclusivity EQ podcast with Saul Gomez, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on their road to success, and get exclusive access on how to implement their success into your life and business. The Inclusivity EQ podcast is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Saul Gomez.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash, and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Inclusivity EQ podcast, where we explore the power and impact of inclusion across various industries and in this thing called life. I'm your host, Saul Gomez. And in today's episode, we're exploring a journey of transformation and self-discovery. But first, let me say that while this show's focus is inclusion, we cannot ignore the fact that it starts with us, right? It starts with the self. We must know ourselves such to be clear on what makes us who and what we are, and what influences and what lenses we see life through. They say that hurt people. And from that context, how can we keep from hurting others? And more importantly, how can we truly see and empathize with others if we can't even be kind to ourselves? How can we expect something from others that we don't first require from ourselves? We must walk the walk, not just talk it, especially at the leadership level. And with that said, today's episode is about self-care. And to guide us through this, we have a special guest whose presence is not only refreshing, but is a burst of smiles and bounds of energy, and I'm here for it all. Our guest is none other than Anna Choi, a TEDx speaker, a Forbes contributor, and the CEO of SolJoy, where she helps clients create health, happiness, and peace by tapping into boundless energy through a signature of somatic mindfulness approaches that integrate wisdom, meditation, movement, martial arts, and music. Anna's story begins with a childhood passion that was redirected into competitive pursuits, which led her to a successful 6-figure business, only to face adversity and the long journey back. What was the turning point? Well, she discovered mindfulness and energy practices that revolutionized her approach to life, balancing record business growth with extensive travel, family time, and personal well-being. Anna achieved her new definition of success. And today we're going to delve into this inspiring tale of resilience, self-care, and finding the true balance of life. Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. It's all mine. I'm just so elated to have this conversation because I think it's so important, right? Starting with the self. And before we delve into things, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background, where you grew up, what is SolJoy, what do you do there, and some key moments or experiences along your journey that kind of shaped who you are and made you to who you are and what it is that you do now?
That will take a while, but the short story. The key turning points, I would say, is you mentioned a few of them already in the intro, but being able to, at 16, in my TEDx talk, I talk about the burnout I was facing, achieving in many different domains as a scholar athlete and all these competitive violinist, etc. And that was one turning point of really starting the inquiry, the seeking heart of, is this it to life? And questioning what society tells you is successful. Because I had social capital, I was well taken care of, I had academic, like all the things you'd want, I had. But I was empty and still looking. So the next big, 10, 20 years was a discovery along entrepreneurship. So I've been an entrepreneur for the last 20 years. And through those kept hitting different milestones, as you mentioned, financially, but felt, was totally burned out, right? So at my rock bottom is we were on food stamps. I had actually sold my business, but then I had been working for a while, had wanting to start a family. And my husband was a landscaper, so he was, digging in the dirt at $18 an hour, not quite enough to feed the family. So, after I gave birth, within a few weeks, I had to work again. And so there was a moment there where I was like, don't want to be here. And from that point is when I was introduced to one of my energy masters, Her Holiness Sai Ma, Lakshmi Devi, and also Il Chili. And I had just gone into a cafe and I got an aura reading. There's like one of those machines. And for those who may not be familiar with that, that's just measuring your energy through colors. And, I don't know if I understood it or whatever, but they knew that my mind was not in my body, that I was, in other words, never present. I was thinking about the past. I was thinking about the future. And I didn't even pay attention to my body except when it was completely exhausted from burnout. So that was the beginning of going into my first Qi Gong, Tai Chi type of Korean yoga class. And in there, I was wowed because I had already been doing yoga for 18 years, the more Indian-based yoga. And when I walked in, these 70, 80-year-old people with white hair were like flippin' and limber and so flexible. And that started breaking my mindset of, health looks a lot different than I thought. If I could get, decrepit and old and stiff. Okay, who are these people? What are they doing? I want what they have. And I, as the young one, was totally stiff and unable to do the moves because I was so stressed out. So that was the beginning. I never looked back at going to the other type of yoga. And for the next 10 years, immersed myself in that. And the main founder of that practice, Il Chili, is an energy master who I continue is my teacher. And he also has a martial arts background, was a 4th degree, black belt, etc. So we share that, obviously my heritage. I'm Korean American as well. Then with Her Holiness Sai Ma, who is a living saint, visited her in Florida at that time. And I was dealing with a relationship thing with my dad and just getting more power with that. So I came back from this journey with her for a week or so, with new awareness that allowed me to make some major life changes. And you could say that was just from that point on, it was a turning point in every possible way. Mm-hmm. And what catapulted me to then just really create the life I want from my passion and create my new definition of success around, for me, it's elevating my consciousness to help humanity as a whole for global enlightenment. So anyway, that's a longer version.
Awesome. And for our listeners, can you quickly kind of share, what is Qi Gong and how does that go into your practice and what is and what you do now?
Yes, and everybody always asks, is it Qi Gong or Qi Gong? It's both, depending on the country. So I have now used Qi Gong because that is the most prevalent on Google Talk. It doesn't recognize Qi Gong. But that is the Korean way to say it. Qi Gong is the Chinese way, so I just go with the Chinese way. And it's the study of energy. So Qi is life force. Mm-hmm. Gong is the practice, consistency. There's a lot of definitions of Gong. But eventually, it's the practice of energy. So that's what it is. And then you had another question there.
Yeah, and so how do you apply it into what you offer as far as your service offerings?
Oh, well, I'm a Qigong instructor, right? So we have classes, but in all my keynotes and in the programs that we offer, we integrate this ancient wisdom and into modern day practices. And I've distilled down the nuggets, having tested it myself and on many clients, of what actually can work for today's ADHD, attention deprived, burned out as the norm, thing we deal with now. Mm-hmm. So, a compassion fatigue, right? They say there's a second pandemic now of, the after effect of basically we have secondary trauma happening all the time that used to just be for trauma survivors or for first responders, but because all of us get it on the news all the time, we're all dealing with it. And that was some of the latest research from HeartMath Institute, which is we use some of those practices there. So we use Qigong directly in classes, and also the elements and the principles in our courses, so that people can understand how to take a universal energy principle and apply it in a way that will build a healthy habit in their way that will have long-term sustainable success.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, right? Because even just my limited, understanding of martial arts, part of it is really just letting go, right? And being one with yourself, because that stress, right? The anxiety, the stress, the sleep deprivation, malnourishment, all those things impact us and stress us and make us stiff and make us just very rigid. Whereas our natural flow and natural state of things is relaxed and easygoing, right? And energy ebbs and flows. And so it's really interesting how, you're able to bring this into your practice and help people de-stress and find a new breath of fresh air, if you will.
Yes. There's an acronym, ALIVE, that we use that integrates the Qigong principles. And I don't want to say it's just Qigong, because Qigong is an integration of mind, body, heart, spirit that happens. And some people think, oh, it's just getting flexible and getting more energy, but it goes deeper in clearing out trauma that's inside, in really purifying and being clear on a vision and a goal and being able to go after that. So like any martial art, I'm a black belt, also in Taekwondo. Alive stands for allowing more yin to your yang, listening within, inspiring soul first, valuing fears, and energizing daily flow.
Say more about valuing fears. That's interesting.
Yes, this is where we learn to reframe fear as little kids that are really pissed off and running around, are hangry, and you just take them under your wings. I got this from my beloved brothers Corin, who are mentors of mine in songwriting, and you take them under your wing and nurture them and see how they've served you and welcome them. So most people want to fix fears or suppress or deny or avoid. Yet the path, fears are a beautiful teacher and guide to show where to up level next. And so if you aren't threatened by them and going into the amygdala part of the brain, the thinking or the feeling brain, second mid part, then you're able to utilize fear. And if you can utilize fear as a guide and a teacher, then all there is to do really is learn the lesson as it's happening. So if you're triggered and now you feel unsafe and now you're about to react, if you learn to cultivate through mindfulness and through meditation, allowing the fear to rise, we have another acronym now, NOW. So just notice and name the emotion and then observe it in the body, like where it actually is as an energy. So let's say it's a red throbbing thing in your chest or a black ball in the pit of your stomach. And then you welcome it into your heart because it's not a threat, right? It's something you can care for. So many clients have done this and it's magical. It relieves people of so much that is stuck in the body, a lot of times trauma and things, and it releases it. And you don't release it because you're trying to release it and fix it. It releases naturally when you hear it and you acknowledge it and you let it in. So unlike you can think of an angry, the fear energy of whatever
right.
It's like someone knocking at your door and keep saying, no, don't come in. And it gets louder and louder and louder and starts busting down your door. But if you just open the freaking door, let it in at the table, it quiets down and it starts quieting down. So it's building that cutting edge relationship with fear right. So that it helps us. It's
the proverbial Snickers bar, right? That hangry commercial, and then you hand the person the Snickers bar, and they're all magically happy now, right?
Well, it's not like that. It's not a silver bullet. The work is in not freaking out and trusting and surrendering to feel it. It's a principle called dare to feel. Mm-hmm. Most people have emotions that they react to, not feelings. So feelings and emotions are different, but feelings are where you allow. I know this sounds so simple, but nobody does it. Like allow and just allow and accept the feeling you have. Most people are unaware. Their vocabulary of emotions is like 20 words at best, when there's like 3,000 words for emotions. And many men, sorry to say, but this is by studies, it's like good or bad. There's not like a nuance, but even with women, you get up to like 20 words, right? But there's a whole universe. So being able to name that emotion and then feel it in the body. Now you're bringing your mind into the body. There's a lot happening, right? In this very short sequence of steps.
Right.
And then when you'll feel a body sensation, like maybe you want to cry, or maybe you're angry, or you feel it kind of flowing through you, and you just sit there and you just observe it. You do nothing with it, and it just kind of dissipates into its thing. So it's very, very useful.
It is. And I think you're absolutely right. I think for men, and I'll speak for self, right? I think, a lot of men like me, have a hard time expressing what we're feeling. And, I joke about it, and it's funny, but not funny. It's like, I'd rather just grunt and say a couple 4-letter words and just keep it moving, right? But I don't think we ever really truly process, and you can only compartmentalize until you can't. And so I think this is really interesting and insightful to know that there is a practice that can help bring all that out. And I think within all that is growth. Earlier, you talked about your experience, right? At 27, years of age, you had a 6-figure financial planning practice, but you were burnt out. And so I want to touch a little bit on that. And really, can you talk a little bit about the physical and emotional toll that took a toll on you in your pursuit for success early on, and how is that different now?
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus? What I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
Yeah, well, there's another point. So at that time, I just was working 80 hours a week. I had no kids, no house, no husband, and I just worked my ass off. So it's very simple. Even though I was in my 20s, where you can be more resilient, I just literally collapsed one day walking into the foyer, like physically just collapsed. And that's when I thought, okay, this is not sustainable. So I did pull back and not work. Maybe I went all the way back, I think, to 30, 40 hours a week, not working much at all. And, but it helped me find that was my first conversation with myself around what's healthy, what's my self-care, what are going to be my, peak times and my flow times and so forth. Mm-hmm. It also made me aware of how little social life I had, and that's important. And, nobody dies with, on their gravestone, yes, I got this much money in. So, then the next milestone was around my next business, which my first passion business wasn't until probably 2 businesses later. So I sold that company and then went on sabbatical and wasn't working for a long time. And that's when we were on the food stamp situation. But after that, I had an event production company for social impact. That's when I got very involved with TEDx as an organizer, and also ran tech events for social impact. When that pivoted into business coaching, at that time, it was my passion. And I again grow 6 figures, but this time I took 9 weeks of vacation off, and I was able to prove to myself, I was like, can you have it all? I was like, I have now a family, I have a husband, I have all these responsibilities, but I could still take off when I wanted to go, chaperone my son's school. And so I thought I had made it, right? And that was like a few years before the pandemic, when I realized, oh my goodness, something's still off. And so there was another turning point there with 2020, March 2020. And I had my record breaking revenue year the year before, and I was going to just repeat it. And something inside would not map out the year. Like every time I sat down to like map out each quarter and the metrics and the goals, literally couldn't. And I know it sounds funny, but like it'd go blank.
Wow.
And I'm not that kind of person. Like have too many ideas and I have to cull it down. But this was so weird. And And so I just did my best with nothing. And then I was going to my business mentor, and at that meeting with, his name was Roger, I love Roger Hamilton. He was asking me with what I could make out as a business plan, pretty broad, high level. He's like, "Does this inspire you?" And I'm like, I want to say yes, right? But I'm like, no. And then he asked the rest of the room, does this inspire any of you? And not a hand went up, right? So that was like getting caught with my pants down, because I was like,
Wow.
wait a second. I had this success. I can't duplicate it now because I'm not even passionate about it. And I didn't even know I wasn't passionate about it.
Wow.
Uh-oh. And then literally came home and the pandemic hit.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It was so weird, the timing, but it was like perfect in hindsight. So I had, everybody was kind of pivoting and revamping, and things were, overnight. Some of my clients were out of business. I mean, it was nuts. But that's when I doubled down on energy mastery and emotional resilience and intelligence. So, and really brought the SolJoy part out. So it was great timing, and it just was another time to redefine success as something that I am passionate about. But at that time, I didn't know what it was. And now we're in the pandemic. So it wasn't until we went on this road trip for 16 days in the Southwest that in that silence, I birthed my first song, and something sparked, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Wow.
And then we had, sorry, I'm going on, but interrupt me if you want. We did a songwriter's, I was doing an ending racism course, because at that time it was an election year as well.
Right.
And I was like, how do we talk to the other side? And we all got to work together. If it's really split here, like you can't just ignore one, like half of the population. We live together, we play, work together. We got to talk. So I had people who didn't vote like me, and we talked. And anyway, so the point is that after that piece, I was able to redefine where I wanted success to look like as far as my passion. So I figured out songwriting. Okay, that seems dumb. Don't be a starving artist, but wait for it. And in the ending racism course, that's what's going there. Met the brothers Corin, who became mentors, and through their song, we rewrote this song with like 120 strangers on Zoom in an hour from scratch.
Really? Wow.
It was extraordinary. And I was like, what the hell is this?
I mean, writing is hard as it is, right? And then writing a song complicates things.
With 120
on Zoom with a bunch of people. Wow, that's amazing.
It was like, I was just taken away, like blown back. And I had to like meet them, work with them. So I was like, dude, who are you? You're amazing. I got to work with you. So I invested a lot of money into a songwriter's journey for 6 months. And it was the first time. So that was the first step, right, to this new definition of success and self-care, really, of only doing something, not because of the business and the bottom line, but just for fun. Just because I had maybe an inkling of a passion. I didn't even know for sure. And something shifted, because when I took that leap, it began this huge tsunami of passion for music, songwriting, all these things that I didn't know existed. And in hindsight, I can see, oh yeah, I could see how it got pushed aside, but man. And so in 6 months, we did this World Peace concert. I'm premiering my second original song alongside a 7-time Emmy Award winner. And it's just blown up since. Anyway, so then that's my new definition of success, is really embodying your soul's joy towards your vision and purpose of your life, which for me is, global enlightenment, empowering that next generation to up-level their consciousness.
That's awesome. And I think all the things you're talking about, right? It's really building resilience. And you talked earlier about embracing your fears, right? Walking them in and just letting them process. And it sounds like through that process of music writing, you did that, right? You embraced those fears of not being a starving artist, right?
Yes.
And it's really taking a leap of faith, right? It's definitely a leap of faith that you take and overcome those fears, because I think those are the limiting beliefs, right? The fears that I'm going to stay in this nice little comfortable box and it's safe, but at what cost, right? What is it costing you? How much joy, how much happiness, how much of a different pivot would life be if you were able to see past that fear? That's such an incredible journey. We were talking earlier about a concert you recently went to, Red, and the artist talked about it's our differences that unite us. And I think a lot of times that gets missed, right? We have a lot of diversity globally. And I think a lot of times we get caught up on the differences. What are the things that makes us different? But I think sometimes within those differences are some similarities. And those are the things that make us uniquely and perfectly imperfect for one another, right? So how does your practice create those spaces where people from different walks of life can come together and walk away with what they need and have an enhanced outlook in life?
Yeah, I mean, when you create a space for diversity to show up, we just had a BIPOC leadership retreat, right? I was introducing Asian practices that may not be familiar to a lot of the people there. And it's just about honoring where someone's at, honoring their culture, honoring being a safe space that people can be vulnerable. And when you just I'm just a container, I don't got all the answers, but when they can feel the energy of the safety, then they naturally open up. And when people open up and are vulnerable, then they find what unites them as far as values go. And they also discover what makes them different that's there to celebrate. So it all happens and unfolds very organically just by having the intention and the energy of a safe space. But most people can't embody that safe space. That's what they need to work on themselves first so that they can get to that grounded place.
That makes sense. What are some of the, I guess I'll call them consistent soul nourishing habits that you offer your clients?
Yeah, so there's many. And again, that ALIVE acronym I think is a good one. But if I drill into Inspiring Soul First, which is about your morning ritual, what are the things that replenish you? I personally do an hour of meditation and 103 bows, and then read something that's some sort of energy principle. So really soul nourishing books, not just fantasy novels, right? Or whatever people might read. So basically a soul nourishing habit is anything that you bring conscious awareness to and you can be present.
Instantly.
So it's not a thing. It's not like, oh, it's this activity. It's going to be different for everybody. But if somebody walks a dog, zoned out, worried, versus present, feeling the ground, breathing the air, now one becomes soul nourishing and the other's not, and it's not the same activity. So you can be just eating and like totally unaware, overeating, not paying attention to the body, or you can chew 30 times and be like, oh my God, this takes a long time, but it's like a moving meditation. Let me be grateful and think about all the people that made this food, who grew it, brought it to the supermarket. I had to come by. Wow, I feel so grateful. Now it's a soul nourishing habit, replenishing habit.
I guess in a weird way that kind of starts slowing the mind, right? Starts slowing you down so you can enjoy chewing your food and the flavor and it satiating your stomach and your hunger. And no, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. When you have, events, how do you level set and how do you create that space for them to actually be able to get what they need? Because if everybody needs different things, right, how can they share the same space and get something out of it?
Yeah, you just ask them what they want to get out of it. I know that's so simple, but it is that simple. So we are working with King County, serving 16,500 employees. And in our mindfulness classes, they are coming from like 12 different government divisions, from juvie to public health to whatever, right? So I never know. And they don't meet, they're kind of new each time. So I have to reintroduce myself. And we're doing mindfulness classes. So how I create this space very quickly is ask some questions, just like, what has you be here? What department are you from? And then I like to do some sort of grounding in the body work. So we do intestinals or body tapping or something. And then it calms down the nervous system and brings the brain waves down. I'm not having on these classes like super vulnerable conversations, and most of them are off screen and they're just chatting to me. But so one is just, like I said, asking them. And then two is like doing somatic mindfulness exercises. So anything that's going to bring them into the body, away from the mind, so that you're integrated, body and brain.
Awesome. I want to get some final thoughts from you, but before that, what would you say to people who are maybe a little bit unsure of taking this leap of faith and maybe, reaching out to you to tap into their boundless energy? What would you say to our listeners who might be on the fence and trying to think about whether this is something for them or not?
That really is a depends question. So I can only speak from patterns maybe that I've seen, which
Sure.
It's typically being too burned out that they can't even commit to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fear of like investing in their own well-being. Like only, when I was a business coach, it was much easier because I'm like, I'm going to help you make more money. Okay, great. Well, I hope you make this investment in ROI as you make me more money. It's very simple, right? But when it's, I'm going to help you feel more health, happiness, and peace, which is priceless, right?
I was getting ready to say that's priceless. It's invaluable, right? How can you put a price on something like that? Your peace of mind, because I think that begets other positive things, whether it's success, whether it's more connectedness, whether it's, building more cohesiveness, more collegiality at work, at home, becoming a better father, better husband, a better friend, whatever the case may be.
If people are on the fence, like basically they have to ask themselves, are they willing to commit to themselves? And I always ask, what have you already tried that didn't work or worked? Because when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners? And especially, what are you up to right now? What are some projects that you're working on?
We have a Love Heals retreat coming up in February of 2025, 12th through 16th at Sedona Maga Retreat Center. It's this gorgeous place of red rock, and there's energy vortexes, and you have farm to table meals that are super healthy. So if someone wants to it's designed for new people, that are new to energy management and mastery. And, it's run by my training, where I got trained, right?
Yes.
And so it's really high level energy masters. And I'm actually going to be going with people as a fellow peer, guiding a group, but not leading the actual retreat. So it's a partnership. And anyway, so that's if you're looking for a deep cleanse of mind, body, heart, soul through somatic mindfulness practices where you use the body's inner wisdom, this is going to profoundly transform your life.
That is awesome. And when is that coming up?
February 12th through 16th, 2025.
Oh, perfect. People have time to sign up then. And where can people find you, or how can they get a hold of you or reach out to you?
Yeah, just my website, SolJoy, SolJoy.life. And there's a digital business card. Maybe we can put that link.
Sure, absolutely.
And it has a link to my TEDx talks and my Energy TV channel on YouTube as well. It has a lot of free trainings and resources for people.
Perfect. And you're on LinkedIn as well?
Yes.
Awesome. Any final thoughts for our listeners? Anything that you want to share?
Just thanks for having me. And my intention is that true health is being able to know your purpose, who you are, and be able to harness the mind power and body and heart towards that purpose. So if any of those parts are missing, we can help you with that, whether it's do it yourself through free resources or you connect with us. And your body has, a profound wisdom. So I hope you go inside and you take time, whether it's in silence or a retreat or somewhere else, to just explore this vast universe within.
Perfect. And I tell you what, as someone who's sampled your work, I think it's awesome. And you are doing yourself definitely a disservice if you don't at least check her out. Thank you so much, Anna, for spending time. I know we got to wrap up, but this has been really insightful and really refreshing to talk about, because it really starts with self. So folks, that does it for this one. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Inclusivity Q podcast. We've been talking with the one and only Anna Choi from SolJoy. Until next time, stay open-minded, be curious, and continue to build your own Inclusivity EQ. I'm your host, Saul Gomez. Catch you on the flip side, out here.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thanks for listening to the Inclusivity EQ podcast with Saul Gomez. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God.